And so it's time for me to show the bed in the back of my Jeep overlanding rig. It's gonna be quite the process, so bear with me. Please do, buckle up, get a hot cup of tea, and sip on it comfortably. I'm going to tell you a story while I take Bucket on a walk. Two birds with one stone, as they would say. I'm making this video because at the core of everything that goes online, there is one thing: immortality. In the sense that it will stay online, accessible to someone, somewhere, always. Like this, the memory of the bed I built in our two-door Jeep will forever live on. I'm taking it out in a few weeks, and it's time to part ways. But why is commemorating it so important? Because building it hurled me towards my goals like a Willy Wonka ticket would a child with a sweet tooth. It took me on Canadian forestry roads, across gravel in Minnesota. One moment, there's a splash. And through BLM land in Montana. And the drive-by. Okay, where was I? Owning a Jeep was never on my bucket list. Owning a vehicle, an overlanding rig that I could travel the world with, was. But threw a wrench in the plan was when I sat in this 2021 Rubicon and I drove it for a little bit because it had so much character. I fell in love. But my underlying goal to travel the world in a car that I can sleep in stayed the same. And it being a two-door Jeep, it was quite difficult to do that. But I remained very strong in my resolve, and I wanted to build something that would allow me and my partner to sleep in this 6-foot-long box. Going around like a merry-go-round is a defining characteristic of assembly. Next to taking hold of those ratchet wrenches that adjust the height of the bed. Depending on how you look at it, using them can be quite calming and cathartic. It's a right pain in the neck. To tell you the truth, I was very excited to design this contraption. And having a little bit of 3D design experience and knowledge through software like Blender, VanLife 3D made it so easy to design something, at least for me. And after about a month of designing, and roughly 4 months after purchasing said Jeep, we drove down to Nebraska to put the entire bed together with the help of my partner's dad. Not that different from how I'm blowing up these mattresses, one step at a time, and with a similar amount of breathwork too. We went to the lumberyard and hardware store, 3 times actually, twice for parts, and once because someone in the parking lot ran over the tools we bought. We made this digital 3D apparatus come to life. I tried to use the most basic materials to match my elementary carpentry skills. The bed is 98% wood. There are a few metal pieces, including 2 scissor jacks, some door hinges, a gate lock, a fair bit of screws, and a few wood staples as well. It's often said that cars would run forever, or at least for a lot longer, if their engines only had a few moving parts. I attempted to apply the same philosophy and make the configuration simple. Once raised, a simple tug, and maybe a push, a grunt, and even a shake. And putting a little back into it will slide one part of the bed forward while the rest remains in place. At that point, The front of the bed can be secured using climbing rope and adjustable carabiners. Just taking a little bit of a break here, Bucket found a few dry leaves that incited a little bit of the zoomies. Stabilized up front, the back piece that was previously removed is fitted back into place to provide more length. With that, it's finally time to top it and make it more comfortable. The bottom layer is made up of these 1.5 inch thick and 20 inches wide Kelty sleeping pads. They are a pain in the neck to blow up, but they were literally the only ones I could find that were 20 inches wide and could fit the car. These top sections are from an average mattress topper, memory foam, I believe. We had one lying around the house and decided to cut it up and sew pillow sheets for it. That was the section of the project when I realized that my sewing skills are not what they used to be. Okay, that's a lie. My sewing skills were never anything used to be or to be. My partner ended up sewing all 4 of those sheets.
And voila, that will be it. Well, let me also get into it for the proper demonstration.
Can you guess the main reason why we have decided to opt for a rooftop tent instead of using this bed? I'll give you a minute or two.
And there you go. I will say, this can go more down or more up. I wouldn't recommend going higher because it would be really hard to get into it. Going more down would make it easier to get in, but then the back would not be able to close. Speaking of the back closing, let's demonstrate that as well. Clear out these things. Oh, it's quite tough. My coat is in there. I don't know if that's over here. It should. But coat. There you go. The back closes it well as well.
If you guessed sleeping space, you're absolutely correct. It fails at one of the things it was designed to solve, and I was hoping it would ultimately be best at. Earlier, I mentioned how excited I was to design something I haven't seen anyone else attempt. I'm glad I did, but I wouldn't recommend. Benefits of the bed include exposure to new design tools, developing handy technical skills, and fueling my need to explore outdoors.
Just one moment. Just one more moment.
But notice how none of those touch on the technical specs.
Okay. I think I have the energy now. And try to come out the back, maybe. No, I'll go from the front.
My walk with Bucket has come to an end, and I'm not a fan of ending on a negative note. So let me try to make the drawbacks as enjoyable as possible, starting with a more active review. Let me show you a little bit closer so it's better visible. The way we often did it was that we had a sheet a bed sheet to go on top of it to keep everything secure so it doesn't slide around like this. The individual sections of foam padding. Down here, the 2 scissor jacks are now very well visible. They're the ones that push this thing up and down. There's not too much room between the roof and the bed, maybe about 3 feet. So maybe not even, could be less than 3 feet. It just kind of feels like a coffin when sleeping in it at night. And then in the front, to counterbalance all the weight that goes to the front, because these scissor jacks are too far to the back, we have these ropes, this hook attachment to a rope that goes across on the roll bars of the Jeep, and that keeps the front from pushing down. These door hinges that I got, these latches on that side and on the other side, allow this felted top part to, if I push this in just a little bit, to fall down, which allows the bed to be stowed once it's lowered, like that. This is quite soft, actually. The sides are also covered with this felt material, so it doesn't scrape the Jeep as it moves and rattles in the back. And this little latch right here locks the big piece that slides out into place so that it doesn't slide forward and hurt the front seats. I might need my second hand for this. Ah, there we go. Like this. And now this is not going anywhere. Oh, seems like I dropped that. All right, let's back it up. Both setting up the bed and breaking it down requires quite a bit of time and effort. It's a workout on its own. The bed does not sit low enough when folded to serve as a back seat. Also, it doesn't allow enough room when fully extended to provide a comfortable experience. I know, I promised you entertainment, so this next section is for you. We'll take a little break and you can watch me struggle. Alright, after having fueled your vices, let's get back to the final part of my tour. I wanted to show the last functionality of this bed. In addition to it being a bed, it was supposed to be a seat that people can sit on in the back, lay back on like this, put weight on it, and be able to ride in the two-door Jeep when the bed is not fully extended and set up. Unfortunately, that functionality was never used because the jacks don't lower it enough for the person in the back to be able to sit up straight. It's not the most stable thing, especially not after the 15,000 miles that it's been in the vehicle for. This is how the headboard folds all the way down. I think it can go a little bit lower. Relaxing. The happiness is seeping into my body from all directions. Because I am actually happy with how this bed turned out. And I'm so glad that I built it. Sometimes things serve their purpose, and it's time for them to go. But their memory will always live on. In my heart, if nobody else's.